We're live. Giang Nguyen, welcome to Women Investor Wednesday.
Hi, Beth. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here on Women Investor Wednesday.
So, as you know, as we shared, and I share every week with the audience, I found out that of all of the commercial real estate investors, only 3% are women, which we have to change that as women, right? And as women investors, we have to share with other women, because what I've learned is, at first I thought women said, well, I don't have the money. And then I debunked that. And well, it's risky. And I debunked that. And it's complicated. And I debunked that. But the real reason is they said, I don't know any women that are doing it. And I went, I'm going to, every time I meet a woman who invests, I'm going to interview them on Women Investor Wednesday. And I created this conference, which it's next week. I can't wait. I've been talking about this since January 2nd. Here it is. It's next week. I think, have 4 tickets left, and we're going to be sold out with 200 women. And I think about 125 of the women have already invested, and probably 70 to 80, 60 to 80 are wanting to, but they don't know where to get started. So every time I meet people like you, I say, let's jump on the Women Investor Wednesday, so that for women that cannot come to the conference, spring break, they can't travel, their work schedule, at least they'll get exposed to women, because I don't want that to be a reason that women aren't investing, that they don't know women that are investing. Does that make sense?
I love that. And I feel so connected to that, Beth. I know we're probably going to dive more into this, but I started investing in commercial real estate, specifically large multifamily, because of something just like this. I came to an event. I didn't know that was possible. I didn't even know what it was. And then just keep an open mind and just exactly what you said, Beth, being exposed to this type of thing, seeing other women, seeing the representation is what really like, oh, wait, I can see myself doing that. And so now I am doing that. So this is great. And I'm so excited to be here and share my journey.
So let's jump in. So tell the audience about you, and just anything you wanted from
Sure.
before you started investing to what you're doing now.
Awesome. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Giang. So I grew up in Vietnam and I came over to the US for college. I actually majored in biology. And so actually after college, I was working for almost 10 years as a scientist doing gene therapy research for a blood disorder called hemophilia A. So I like to say that's my past life. But yeah, I was a scientist for almost 10 years there. I started investing in real estate while I was working full time. I started investing in commercial multifamily while I was working full time. And eventually, my commercial multifamily replaced my income. And so I left my W 2 just actually over a year and a half ago to become a full-time multifamily investor and multifamily syndicator. So that's a little bit about my journey. I'm an immigrant. My past life was something entirely different. I didn't go to school for commercial real estate. So if you want to talk about imposter syndrome and just feel like you don't belong, I experienced that. And I can tell you that a lot of women in real estate, the reason why it's so awesome is that there are a lot of ways that you can learn. You don't need a degree. Actually, there's a lot of transferable skills that you can take with you in this journey. So yeah, I am now full-time as a multifamily syndicator, full-time in commercial real estate.
Okay, so let's take a couple steps back.
Yeah.
Love that story. First time, so you're at your W-2, you're a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
How did you even get exposed to the first deal you invested in?
Yeah, great question. So at that point, I was working for a few years. I saved enough money, and by that I mean like 30K.
Right.
And I was renting at a time, and there was this small single family foreclosure that was just about 4 blocks from where I was living at the time. At that point, my sister was a realtor. My sister is still a realtor, and she also started doing a little bit of flipping, some rentals here and there. So she's like, "Yeah, let's go ahead, buy it. I'll help you rehab." And so I was like, "Sure." And I think this is what I brought up earlier, right? Like, be open to whatever coming up, right? Um, One thing I always said, it is so hard to connect the dots looking forward, but when you're looking back, all these dots make so much sense, and how all of these experience leads me to where I'm at right now. So I started with that single family. It was a foreclosure. And at that point, I didn't know anything. So I wasn't scared of anything, right? Like, you
Mm.
can't be scared of something that you don't know. I didn't know a mortgage existed, you guys. I didn't know about hard money lending. I didn't know a lot of these things. This property was vacant for over 20 years.
Wow.
No water, no electricity, no HVAC. It was a full gut job.
Wow.
Everything that could have gone wrong
Went
went
wrong.
wrong. You guys, like, I was looking for contractors on Craigslist. That was how clueless I was.
Oh,
But at that point, right, I think it was brownie points for jumping in, for learning things, for Googling. I didn't have a community like this that I could ask question, where people can tell me that, like, please do not look for contractors on Craigslist, right? These things that, like, now a community can really tell you, and you can really lean on to this collective experience. Back then, I didn't know about all of that. So I was figuring my way out. I was crying a lot along the way, if I'm being totally honest. But I got really that construction 101 experience. We had foundation issues, sewer line issues, everything and everything in between.
okay.
So, yeah.
So when you bought the foreclosure,
Yeah.
how much was it? Do you remember?
It was 28,000. So I had enough saved for
So did
that.
you pay it all, or did you and your sister split it?
I paid it all in cash. So I saved enough for about 35K. So that was enough for
And
purchase
do you
and
remember
closing
how
costs.
much? Do you remember how much you thought the renovations were going to be versus what they ended up being?
Oh, I didn't even think anything. I didn't even know how much construction was going to cost. I didn't even know about what the ARV, that after repair value, would look like. The only thing that I thought of was like, hey, this was 4 blocks from where I was living at that time. So I would move in and I would live there. It was across from a school. It was close to a park. A lot of these things, right, that I think are just common sense that we kind of discount, right? A lot of these things that just we live and we know, like, hey, this is probably a good place to live because of this
Right.
XYZ. A
Right.
lot of these that we kind of discount it. But because of that, I'm like, yeah, I think this would be a good long-term investment. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I will just I was doing a lot of the work myself. My ex and I was doing a lot of work ourselves. It was a live and flip. Actually, I was just looking at a picture today when there was like no flooring. We had a trash bag at our curtain, and it was we moved in as soon as there was a functioning bathroom. So that
Oh
was
my
quite an
gosh.
adventure.
How long did you live there until the renovations were completed?
We probably lived there for about a year.
And then the renovations were completed, and then what happened?
So the renovation was complete. I then did a cash out refinance. So that was a burr. So I was able to pull a lot of cash back out. It was, as I mentioned, 4 blocks from where I was living, and just across a street where it was an appreciation area. So these things that I didn't think about that would appreciate, right? Like this park, the school, all of that was a great thing. And so I was able to pull a lot of cash back out and live in there. And then essentially it now has become a rental. But I use a lot of that cash from that first property to go into 2 duplex conversions. Again,
Okay,
full
wait,
on
wait.
construction. Yeah.
So, so you said burr.
Burr. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell the audience what that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we were doing the buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So
Ah,
so at that point, Instead of renting it out, I was living there. So I essentially just doing a cash out refinance as a primary home. So it's a plus in a sense because it does help me, allow me to pull out a bit more cash. So whenever it's a primary home, the LTV is always a bit higher than any commercial or rental
Right.
property. So I was with pull more cash out.
Do you
Then
remember
yes,
how much you refied for?
that property was appraised for about 230. So I pull out, I think about like 185 was the loan amount in
How much? Do
cash.
you remember how much you put in the
Um,
renovations?
we put in about 120.
Where'd you get that
Um,
money from?
a mix of saving and borrowing from my parents.
Thank you, parents.
Yes, thank you, parents.
And
My
how?
parents actually was sold a place in Vietnam back then, and so they give us some cash to be essentially, hey, here's some cash. So I borrow from there and then keep
How
going.
old were you when you did this deal?
I was 25, I think.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Okay. So bought it for 28, put in 120. You're in it for 148. It appraised at 230. You got out 185. So you're basically netting 40.
Yeah.
So now you go buy 2 duplexes,
Yep.
but you called them something else. So say what you call.
Yeah, so I call them a duplex conversion. And the reason I call it that is because they were technically 2 single family. But because of the zoning, it was allowing for a duplex by right. So one thing that I was utilizing at that point is multifamily was more expensive. But if you buy the right single family at the right zoning, I didn't have to go through the whole expensive zoning that is like uncertain whether you can actually get the zoning or not. I knew for sure that it would be approved as a duplex. And so I bought a single family, convert that into duplex because my whole goal has always been to do a long-term cash flow rentals, and duplexes would cash flow more than a single family. So that's why I was call it a duplex conversions
So
projects.
did you buy 2 houses and convert them both into duplex, or one house, 2, and then so now
Two
you have
house. Yeah.
4.
So now I'm at 5 doors count total. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember how much the 2 single family houses were?
So one was also I think one was a probate. Not that it was listed actually. So one thing I want to clarify is that a lot of these was actually listed on market. So even though it's a foreclosure or a probate sale, or the other one is also a foreclosure, they were listed just on the MLS. So don't sleep on the on market. I know sometimes it's tough to find deals out there, but there are good deals listed on the market. Just like these, right? They were actually single family. That didn't quite make enough sense as a single family, but makes sense as a duplex. So then I bought one was I think 33 and the other one was 66.
Why was one so much more?
The other one was a little bit more updated.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you buy these. Now so you had money from the refi. So you used the money for the refi to buy these?
Yes.
And then how much did you put in the conversion? How much does that cost?
So here's at the point where I bought the 33 first, and I put more money in that to do that first. And then I essentially does the cash out refi again to do the next one. So you will hear a common theme there, right?
Was the bank of parents?
No, so I think essentially at that point I have some cash.
Got
So
it.
that essentially I just build a little bit more cash, a little bit more cash, a little bit more cash, so that it gets a little bit easier to function.
Okay.
But one theme here you would hear is that I didn't really have a private lenders other than my parents at that first one. I didn't have hard money lender.
Good.
And I was doing a lot of these things myself,
which is amazing.
which was great. So there's a trade-off there, right? I was working full-time, I have limited time. And so whatever time I had, it was essentially rehab, walking by this property. This property was where I live. So the good things here is it did allow me to kind of maybe learn a little bit from my mistakes. The downsides here, though, is that that whole 5 doors there took me about 5 to 6 years to
Right.
get through.
You couldn't scale.
Because
You couldn't
I couldn't
scale. Right. But that's okay. You're still very young. You've got
I could, yeah.
time.
So I couldn't scale, and because they were local, I felt like I need to check on them. Not that I was really help them. They're like I just need to like pass by, check on them. So they were taking a lot of time. So on average, each of these take me about 2 years to like complete and everything. So yeah.
So when was that? How many years ago was that you finished
So actually
the duplexes?
I complete the refi of that third duplex in 2020, right when COVID hit.
Okay. So what happened after the duplexes?
So after duplex, I pulled out cash, and at that point I have about 185 in cash.
And you're renting them now. They're all renting.
And they're all renting now.
Correct. Now you're cash flowing and you got money out.
And I got money out.
Okay.
So here's where the pivot happens.
Yes.
So in 2020, COVID hit. I was working from home, and I went to webinar just like this. And that's when I found out about commercial multifamily. At that point, I had only been doing 2 to 4 and was hitting a wall, right? Because it taking too long. Like by this rate, I'm not going to go. Like this is just taking too long, too much effort. And that's when I learned about commercial multifamily.
And was that with Keely?
That was actually with Ashley Wilson. So yeah, so she is huge in multifamily.
Right.
And that was when I learned about multifamily. Here's the thing that I want to mention first, though. A lot of people think about large multifamily or about commercial multifamily as, 300, 400 units. Right. And it's certainly space in your portfolio for that size, right? But the scale that I move on to that was actually very helpful that I felt not a lot of people focus on is that 5+ unit up to like 15, 20.
Right.
So I love that space. And that was how I actually grew my portfolio from that 5 doors to 28 doors in the next 6 months. Just using the same asset, like this just same avatar. But like, this is why I really want people to understand that like the first few feels so, but yeah.
Okay. It's okay. You're at 5 units.
Yeah.
You go to this webinar.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Don't jump from 5 to 25.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The key thing I learned from that webinar, and this is why I say like to keep your mind open, because I didn't think of that. This is what I would do, right? The nice thing about 5+ is that the value of your property is based on the income, right, as any commercial real estate, right?
Right.
The pain point that I would experience at that time with duplexes is that my value is determined by how the person down the street sells their duplex. Mm-hmm. Now, the tricky thing is nobody really fixes up duplexes to then sell them. A lot of people hold on to them because they'll make a good cash flow. So because of that, I was really struggling with finding a good comp to actually pull all my cash back out plus more and really be able to just keep it going at a scale. On the 5+ size though, the nice thing about this is that it's small enough that I can do it on my own. I don't really need partners yet. And it is too small that I feel like not a lot, like very large commercial real estate investors don't really touch because
right, not a lot of competition. Yes.
Not a lot of competition.
So when you went from 5 to 25, was that one property? Did you buy a 20 unit?
No, so I actually bought several 5 unit, 6 unit, and then also mixed use 4, and then just like 8 units. So like it's a mix of multiple different small buildings.
So talk to me about the first 5 unit you bought.
So actually, the gap that I was skipping was like, I think, so when I start buying, it was July 2022. No, July 2021 was
Okay.
when I start buying. So you will see that there's about a year gap there. This year gap is when I was going to a bunch of webinar. I was
Learning. You're
learning.
educating
I
yourself.
was educating myself.
Best investment ever, can
Yeah.
never lose.
Yeah, that was amazing. So there was a lot of books, lots of like webinar, a lot of these things, right? So actually, when I start purchasing, I was closing a 5-unit and a 6-unit all on the same day. So here are some key
Let me ask you a
things.
question,
Yeah.
because now I know my audience. Okay.
Yeah.
They're all saying to themselves, oh my God, I would have been so scared.
Mm-hmm.
She's closing a 5-unit and a 6-unit in the same day after just doing duplexes.
Yeah.
So were you afraid, or did you have fear? And if you did, how did you overcome it?
Yeah, great question. Yes, I had lots of self-doubt, lots of fears, lots of what if, and everything in between. How I overcame it, something that I always do when I'm scared is I often actually sit with my fears, in a sense of like, you know how there's this like little voice sometimes that's like nagging in the back of your head and is causing all that anxiety. I actually kind of I listen to it, and I write these things down, because I really hate that feeling of like just like in the back of my head, and I can't
Right.
quite like
Yeah.
put it on paper. So
Right.
I put it on paper, and then what that happens is I can really take a look at these fears and ask like, okay, one,
Are
is
they
this real?
valid? Right.
Yeah. Are they valid? Two, okay, how do I mitigate this risk? And then, okay, what's the worst case scenario? And what would I do in that case, right? So it kind of gives this blob of fear that live in the back of your head onto something that is now a plan. This is literally what commercial investor do, right? They mitigate the risk. So just all these fear on paper and then come up with a plan. That's really all it is.
And you're like, okay, what do I have cash flow? Does the cash flow support the loan? So for the 5 and the 6 units,
Yeah.
I presume you bought these with loans.
Yes.
Okay.
So yes. So
and
this
not
is
not the bank of mom and dad,
and not the bank of mom and dad. So this one, I have a private lender that I met through a meeting just like this. She funded 90% of my purchase. And
I love her. I want
I
to
know,
meet
right?
her.
And she funded a part of the construction up front.
Wow.
So actually, I didn't have to come to closing with a lot of cash. So that was a strategy I used with one of the properties.
Okay.
The other one, I did use all cash. But what I did was, again, both of these was actually on market. Both of these was listed on the market. But the advantage
did you buy it at the listed price, or did you negotiate?
I negotiate down a little bit. I did negotiate down, and I traded off with quick closing because I knew I had private money and cash. So I did quick closing.
Doing any of your due diligence, did you find ways to get credits or no?
No.
Okay.
These was bought as is because I had the budget to go in and essentially do rehab.
Okay. So
yeah.
How much were each one? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, they were. So, and this is maybe the other key. I picked a market that was an hour and a half from me. That was a cash flow market. That at that point where I felt like things looked really wrong on paper, but it was actually going really well. So one was 150 for 5 doors. I know, right? The other one
we don't have those in Miami.
Oh no, I know, right?
And 150, 150 for a
is probably
closet.
not even get you like a part of a door. And then the other one was 200 something for 6 doors.
Okay, great. And do you remember what your renovation budgets were for each?
My renovation budget was about 10 to 20 per door.
Okay. And did that come in? By now, you're an expert with finding contractors.
Yeah. So here's actually a really cool thing. I bought both of these sight unseen by me. Yeah. So I went from buying and doing everything myself.
Down the street, walking by every night.
Yep. to buying at a place that's only an hour and a half from me, but I didn't have a car. I don't own a car still. So I'm like, I can't actually go visit this
You know,
place.
there's things called Ubers, Yang, right?
Yeah, but these, I know, I was like, maybe I should Uber it out, but these are like an hour and a half, 2 hours from me. So I'm like, well, I can't quite like, so like, yeah, previously I was Ubering to my place because I didn't have a car. But at an hour and a half, 2 hours, I was working full time. So a lot of these it was bought sight unseen by me, but my property manager and my contractor walked the place.
Right.
They gave me a construction budget. And that's how I was purchased these while working full time, prepping
And you're
for med school and
27
everything.
or 28 at this point?
Yeah, I think I was later 20. Yeah, I think it was 28, 29
Okay.
at that point.
You're
Yeah,
still W2ing.
I was still W2ing.
How did those two do for you?
It was very hard in the first 5 doors, right? Because like I said, they were close by, so I just feel like I had to go take a look at them. But now that when they are an hour and a half away, 2 hours away, and I don't have a car, that's when it's actually forced me to figure a lot of these out from a longer distance. And it became a lot easier, which is why I was able to scale so quickly without actually spending much time at checking out the site every day because I thought I had to.
So the renovations on the 5 and the 6 are done.
Yeah, the construction on the 5 and the 6 was done.
And they're rented. Are they all
they're
full?
rented. Oh yeah, they're at that point we were churning out. They were all actually cosmetic rehab. So we were churning out really quickly. It's no longer a year, 2 year. I refi most of these within 6 months.
Who do you refi with? A local community bank?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's also the other key to scaling. The reason why I mentioned I bought one of them in cash was that I actually start the refi on that before I close on it. So as soon as I close within 3 weeks, I was able to pull out 80% of the cash I put in there. So now I have the cash for the rehab. So that was how I structured that 5 and that 6 with, I know they're cheap, but I have, I only have this much cash.
So you buy it with 200 grand. Before you close, you go to a local community bank and you say, look, I want you to refi this.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Based on, were you going to go in and raise rents in the first 3 weeks?
So because I was refining so quickly after I closed, they were only going to go with appraised value or purchase price, whichever is lower, right? So they end up just going with the purchase price. So then I was able to refi it back out within 3 weeks to pull that cash back out.
Why'd you buy with cash and not just finance it from the get-go?
Yeah, great question. So at that point, I think I was still a little bit nervous. So like I could have just gone both with private lender, right? But this is actually the first time I used private lender. So in my head, I was like, okay,
nervous. Right?
Yeah, so I was even first. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to do one cash and then be able to do just a normal refi at a lower rate while I'm doing rehab on it. And the other one with a private lender with a higher rate, so that now, even though I have two, I don't really have much of a cash flow issues while I'm navigating this two rehab.
What was the rate with the bank loan?
At that point, I think that was in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the rate back then was like 4-ish.
Yeah. And how much was the private lender?
The private lender, I believe, was about 14, 12 to 14.
Have you paid her off already?
Yes. Yeah.
How long did you have that loan?
That one was about, by the time we refi, I think that was about like 9 months or so.
And you refied with a bank?
Yeah. Then I refi with a local credit union. Yeah.
A credit union. Okay. Yeah. That's awesome. So how many do you have today? How many doors?
So today in my personal portfolio, I think that is 35.
Amazing.
In my personal portfolio. Yeah.
And then you have also syndications or no?
Yes. And then I also have syndication. Yeah. So Actually, my first syndication was a 42 unit bought through an online foreclosure auction. So you hear a theme here with buying foreclosure. And so even for my first larger multifamily, it was a foreclosure auction.
How much was that?
That one we bought for 2.8 million through an online foreclosure auction.
And how many people are in the syndication?
We had a group of 11 investors.
And were these people you found, or was this part of other groups you were part of?
So we had 4 main partners on that deal. And so we all raised capital. We only raised about like 1.2 million for that deal. And so that was raised among all 4 partners. Yeah.
And do the partners take a promote and give a pref?
We have a pref. Yeah, we have an 8 pref. And then it's actually, it is a 50-50 split. So which is really good for a syndication deal.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have the 35 that you own, and those 35 doors that you own, no partners.
No partner. Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're in a 42 unit syndication. Any other syndications?
Yeah, I'm also in a 76 unit syndication in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Any other syndications you're in?
Not yet.
Okay. So, and how did you get to be part of these 2 syndications?
So the first one, I actually led it. So the 42 unit that we bought, again, you probably hear a theme here. We closed that syndication in 35 days.
Wow.
So for first syndication with all the paperwork, with the closing and everything, we closed it in 35 days. So raising 1.2 million. So that was quite, it was quite an experience. The cool thing about that deal though was we came in with 1.2 million in equity already. So we bought it for 2.7 and it was appraised at close for about 3.9.
Oh, amazing.
So we came in with equity, and then we actually put in a lot of rehab, and we actually just about going through the refi process for that project. So yeah, it has been quite a rewarding experience. But that one, yeah, I came into it as, I was talking with a couple of investors in the same market. We were actually doing a mini mastermind during COVID, just kind of monthly check-in. How's it going with yours portfolio? How's it going with my portfolio? And just kind of getting to know people as an investors, as a personal level. And so when this deal came about, I asked them to partner with me. And so that's how that syndication formed.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Which do you like better, syndicating the large deals and being part of the syndication, or owning the 35 doors all by yourself?
Great question. I will say, I think it depends on how I feel at that moment. I think anyone who does syndication or does anything that asset management will tell you that there's probably not really a stabilized multifamily ever, really. Anyone who does asset management can probably tell you that it's always, you're always problem solving something.
Right.
There's always KPIs to check on. There's always things that you're solving, right? And as a syndicator, especially for multifamily in this cycle where it's not a whole long-term cash flow, but if the cycle is 3 to 5 years, it's always felt like as soon as ready to stabilize the property, now you're prepping the property for sale. What does it look like to really increase the income, minimize the expense, and really tighten up all of that financials, so that when the times comes, you can actually have a really good, pretty financials to sell and make your investor the most amount of money, right? So it is a lot of work for me, I think, versus the amount of work it took me to grow my portfolio. That 42 unit took way, way, way much more. The The thing that I love though about these larger scales is that it has so much room for partners. So I really get to work with amazing people that I really enjoy working with. So that's the piece that I really like. I also think that from the cash flow perspective, my portfolio will cash flow for me way more than any syndication deal that I would ever really do. The good thing about the syndication deal, like I mentioned, is that partnership. I love working with people who are amazing, who just like, I just really enjoy working with. And also, I really love that being able to bring people along and help people create wealth. So one thing that I was feeling was as an immigrant is, just like you said about how as a woman in commercial real estate, sometimes you look around and you're like, I don't see anyone else, right? Sometimes that's how I feel as an immigrant investing in real estate, specifically commercial real estate. So one of that drive for me is to be able to help other people, specifically immigrants, to grow wealth because we're not taught about this really growing up. Like I mentioned, I didn't even know mortgages exist, right? Because that's not a thing back home. So I feel like that's why I feel like I'm still doing both. I'm still doing syndication. I'm still growing my portfolio. I think my portfolio is what really gonna give me that long-term cash flow. And syndication is where I get to make an impact and where I get to work with other people that I love working with. So that's why I'm fitting both of them in.
So you quit your W-2 a year ago?
I quit my W-2 2022. The funny thing was we actually got under contract for the 42 unit the afternoon of my last day at my W-2.
So do you make enough in passive income to replicate your W-2 income?
Yes. So when I left my W-2, essentially my cash flow was exceeding my W-2 income. So at that point, especially with the, I knew I was prepping already at that point. But I could imagine doing the 42 unit while working full time. So it was just good timing overall.
Have you tried to bring some of your peer immigrants in to try to share with them? Yes, family and friends, and say, come into this deal.
Yeah. So the cool thing called social media, it's been very interesting. So as a part of what I'm doing, I tend to share more on Facebook, social media. And before I start in real estate, really, I had like almost no posts on social media. But the funny thing was when I start doing posts about real estate, about building wealth through social media, I get to connect with people that I haven't really been in touch with. Actually, somebody I sat next to in fourth grade that I have never even talked to since then. Reach out once he saw my live talking about real estate. And so it's really funny how social media connects people. But yeah, that's how I was able to share, and that's why I'm really working on sharing a lot more about what I'm doing. Just like you said, Beth, there's like representation, how it's very important that as you see other people, you can really know what's possible, and hopefully they know about the power of real estate and commercial real estate specifically.
One of my favorite stories 2 years ago. So our conference next week is our fourth conference. And 2 years ago, I interviewed a woman, Natasha, and Natasha had 42 units. And they were all her own units, 6 units, 8 units, 6 units, 8 units. And she's on stage and I'm interviewing her like this. And I said, okay, so next year when you're back at this conference, how many units are you going to have? And she said, 50. And I said, 50? No way. Think bigger. And she said, okay, right? And I said, 100. Commit to 100. And she goes, okay. So the following year, we're at the conference, and I said to the people in the audience, most of them were there the year before, who remembers Natasha? And all the hands go up. And I said, who remembers the goal that I set for her to try to reach? And a woman in the audience yells, 100 units. And I said, Natasha, stand up. Natasha stands up. I said, how many units do you have? And she goes, 102.
Yay! I love that.
Thinking bigger.
Thinking bigger.
Thinking
Yeah.
bigger. But gosh, what an amazing story. I
Thank you.
am so inspired by you.
Thank
And now,
you.
what are you, 32 now?
I am 33 now, I think. Sometime when I pass 30, all the numbers just kind of blend together.
Well, wait
and
till you
so
pass
I'm
60.
in. So sometime when I'm 32, 33, I think I'm 33 now. Yeah, I think that's the number.
Well, congratulations. Before we
you.
close out, I have a question.
Sure.
This is a question from the audience. How
Okay.
did you find a contractor and a property manager an hour and a half away that you could trust?
Oh, great question. I love that question. Here's a cheat sheet that I'm going to share. I hate reinventing the wheels. So what I do when I get to a new market is I ask other people who's been in that market, who's a property manager that they're using. Here's why I start with property manager. That's often the least limiting factor in people's portfolio. Sometimes contractor, I know some people can hold contractor dear near to their heart, but like property manager is typically where people are happily share. So that's where I started. I asked someone for a property management company, and that property management company also have a construction company, so they help me manage both while I'm away. I truly believe the saying that's like rock star, no rock stars. So I always ask other experienced investor who they use for property management company, and then from there go on, right? The reason why I do that also is because I feel like there's always going to be things that you're going to have to troubleshoot. I reach out to about 40 local banks before I have someone say yes. At that point, I was not a permanent resident, or so a lot of local credit unions and banks would not lend to someone who does not have a green card or is not a permanent resident. So that's why I had to ask a lot. So there's always going to be homework that you're going to need to do. So whatever that you don't need to do, just go ask other investors and they're going to recommend someone.
Starts at 25 years old, buys a single family, buys duplexes, does construction on her own, goes to the bank of mom and dad, still working as a scientist, decides that she wants to go bigger, 5 and 6 units. Now she's doing syndications with 42 and 76 units. You are amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I am so inspired. I'm so happy we met Pili Yarusi, who spoke at my conference 2 years ago, or last year, is the one that introduced us.
She's such a connector. I love her.
You have to come on my stage next year.
Oh my God, I would love to. Yeah.
Okay, March 2025. I need Giang Nguyen on my stage at the conference.
Beth, tell me how many doors we're gonna get next year, so that I can maybe hopefully say some of that number next year.
I think that your personal portfolio needs to be 100 because you don't have the W-2 anymore.
I don't have a W-2 yet. You're right. I gotta build that personal portfolio.
Right? I think that it's 100.
All right, I got it. I'm gonna write the numbers down. I got it.
I mean, all you have to do is just go buy two 30 units and you're there.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. I love that you giving them the number and the pathway.
So people are clapping. They're saying amazing congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. And people are asking, where do we find this woman on social media? So
oh my God, yeah. So one thing I don't think I share yet is I'm a salsa dancer.
Yes.
So I'm a competitive salsa dancer. Actually, what I do is I train for competition. So you will find me on Instagram at that salsa investor. Hopefully it's so THAT, that salsa investor, and I'm on Instagram. I'm pretty active on there. But yeah, I would love to connect with everyone and chat, whether it's dance, real estate. I'm all game.
I'm pulling it up right now. I think I found you earlier before we jumped on. That salsa investor. Yep. Yes. I'm following you.
Awesome.
Yang, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much. And you're committed, right? Next year, you're on the stage.
Yes.
And you're going to bring other women who
Yes.
either are, send me women that are investing that I can interview here on Women Investor
sure.
Wednesday.
Mhm.
But also, if there's any women that you think I should meet for speakers in person at our conference next year. And for everyone that's listening, thank you all for being here. The conference is the 14th and 15th. It's next Thursday and Friday. I think there are 4 tickets left. So if anyone does not have a ticket and wants to come, go to bethazor.com and you'll see the registration. We're absolutely going to sell out. I have no doubt. Thank you, Yang. It's been a pleasure. I'm so inspired.
Thank you so much, Beth. Thanks to everyone for tuning in.